Hello, my name is Holly Burton, and it is currently December 3rd, 2021, and I am sat here in my living room with my father, Harold Burton, and we are currently located on 16 Cullen Crescent here in St. John's, Newfoundland. Today I will be talking with my father on how he makes homemade meatballs. My father, Harold Burton, is 47 and grew up in Grand Bank and knows how to make meatballs. How would you describe this meal and what it is?
Well, quite simply, it's a family favorite that everyone enjoys and something I've been making for years. Um, Easy meal to prepare. Um, yeah, and everyone seems to enjoy it every time we have it.
What different contexts would you have this meal in?
Uh, it's something that we usually do probably once a month, probably. Most of the time, it's something that's prepared when most of the family is around. So yeah, it's a family favorite during gatherings for sure.
Can you describe the ingredients and the process of making this meal?
Well, it takes a little bit of time to prepare, but it's not that hard and it's quite simple. Um, Usually, we pick up either lean or extra lean ground beef from the local department store. Um, when we get home, we throw it into a bowl, um, breaking it down from the original packaging. Ingredients I throw in there is usually I throw in a bit of onion powder, sometimes onion soup mix, on top of the ground beef. I'll add a little bit of salt. Um, I'll puree some onion to throw in there, which helps the meatballs maintain some moisture. And I use breadcrumbs as a binder as opposed to egg whites. I'll roll the balls into a ball about the size 1 inch to an inch and a half diameter. Lay them in a roaster. Put them in the oven and turn it on about 300, 350 for about 35 to 40 minutes. Obviously, keep checking them over time to make sure that everything's okay. Once they seem like they're cooked, I'll add a sauce, a sweet and sour sauce. To prepare the sauce, I usually had 1 cup of sugar, usually white sugar, sometimes brown sugar, not very often, um, which can add a variation to the flavor of the sauce. Into the 1 cup of sugar, I'll add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, which is going to be used as a thickener. I'll whisk this together so that when I add the other ingredients, the cornstarch doesn't clump up. Then I'll add a cup of vinegar, a cup of ketchup, and about 3 tablespoonfuls of soy sauce. I'll whisk all this together to make the sauce. Before I throw the sauce in on top of the meatballs, I'll make sure that there's no excess fat or grease that has run from the meatballs in the bottom of the roaster. I will drain that out of the roaster and then throw the sauce in on top of the meatballs. With the oven still at 350 or 300, I'll let the meatballs sit in the sauce for about 15 minutes or so while it warms up and thickens. Then it's usually ready to prepare or ready to serve.
Perfect. Where did you learn how to make this meal?
I guess it's something I learned from my mother years ago. I'm a person that likes to pay attention to details, and I always learn different cooking tips from my mother over the years. And yeah,
About how long have you known how to make this meal, would you say?
I would say I've been preparing this meal I've known how to make it probably since my late teens and early 20s. So ever since then.
Perfect. When would you make this type of meal?
Now I do have probably once a month or so like that, but it's usually during family gatherings when everyone gets together. It's something that everyone enjoys, and it's easy to prepare and goes over well.
Do you do anything custom when making this meal versus what other people would do?
Like I mentioned before, I use breadcrumbs as a binder to keep the meatballs together, as opposed to using egg whites, which a lot of people use. This is mainly due to the fact that I have an egg allergy, and breadcrumbs work just as well, if not better, than egg whites.
Have you learned any tips on how to make the meal from others?
I've learned different tips. People gave me different suggestions, like possibly making the meatballs and laying them out on a cookie sheet as opposed to putting them in a roaster. But I just feel comfortable with the way I do it, and it always goes over well, so why change a good thing?
What are some things that you enjoy about making this meal?
I guess the fact that everyone likes it, no complaints about it, and it always goes over well. I try to make extras so that there is leftovers the next day. So, yeah, everyone likes it and enjoys it.
Is there any various forms on how to make this type of meal?
Well, I guess if you wanted to, you didn't have to use a sweet and sour sauce. If you wanted to, I guess you could have, you could use a noni garlic or even some type of barbecue sauce, that sort of thing. So yes, you can make some variations in the way you prepare it.
And lastly, is there any different type of places during traditions you would see this meal?
A lot of times, like I said, during family gatherings, especially during Christmas, when there's big gatherings, and there's potlucks and that sort of thing on the go. The meatballs is just the one thing that can be had as a part of the dish, and it goes over well. Everyone enjoys it, and there's hardly anything ever left over.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries.